In this video, I will show you some of the critical features in Google Forms that you can use to create a teacher rubric used for grading student work that will give you lots of great data that you can use to streamline your grading. If you have not yet, watching the student rubric video would be very helpful here because I go into more detail about some of the same critical features that are used in both. But let me go ahead and point out some differences in this one. So the first thing you want to do is create a question that has a list of all of the students in your class. You may want to create one for each class period so that you can kind of keep that data separate, but that's totally up to you. And what I would do is choose a drop-down question because it will take up less space on your form when you fill it out versus using a multiple choice question. So I would choose drop-down, and then I would enter in all the names of my students here. And then that way, when I'm ready to grade them, I can just choose their name and give them the grade. The next thing you want to do is make sure that you make this question required. That is really for you as a teacher so that you don't forget to choose a student name before you start grading somebody's work. Once you've done that, the next question you want to enter is what we call a multiple choice grid question. Now, again, I showed you this in the student rubric video, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but basically you're going to insert an image of a rubric that you've already saved to your device or your Google Drive. And then you're going to name the rows to match the categories you have in this rubric, and you're going to name the columns to match the grading scale you have at the top. So that is totally up to you how you want to do that, if you want it to match or if you want to put actual points, whatever works for you, because this is for you as the teacher. One of the critical features to remember here is that you need to require a response in each row. This will prevent you from skipping a category of the rubric and not having a complete grade for each student. Another reminder, when you click the three dots, you do not want to limit to one response per column because that would not allow you to give more than one of each of these scores. And so we don't want that to happen because you may have a student that needs multiple 4s or 3s or 2s or 1s. And then shuffling the row order is not suggested just because it's easier for your rows here to match the rubric that you're using to score them. So once you've set that up, you can also just add in a quick question, a paragraph or short answer question for yourself to type in any feedback that you want to remember to give the student. I would not make this one required because this again is optional if you feel like you want to stop during the grading process and add notes here. So now that you've set up your form, let's look at something in the settings that you need to make sure you set for yourself so that you can use this multiple times. So when you click on settings, you're going to want to open up the presentation settings by clicking this drop-down menu, and you want to scroll down to the one that says show link to submit another response. Be sure that that is toggled on so that you continue to just submit multiple responses as you grade a set of your student work. Let me show you how you would use it as a teacher. So as a teacher, you now are going to be in the preview mode or literally send yourself the send link so that you can actually fill it out as the respondent. So you would choose the student you're grading from the drop-down menu that you have here, and then you would use the multiple choice grid to grade the work that you have using the rubric provided. So let's say that they got a 4 for following directions, a 3 for creativity, they had really good behavior in class, and then remember it's going to prompt you, you need to make sure you have one response per row because we set that up when we created the question. So it won't allow you to forget to answer one of these, and you go ahead and enter that, and then that warning goes away. And then finally, if you do choose to enter a note or some feedback you want to remember to give the student, you can type that in here, click submit. And then what's cool about this is because we've set it to allow you to do multiple responses, you just hit submit another response. Now you can choose the next student, go through their work, give them their scores for each category, type in any feedback you have, hit submit, and continue on until you grade them all. Now let's take a look at the data you get and see how you can use that to help your grading be more streamlined. So once you've graded all the work for that project, that particular project, now you can come back into your edit mode and click on the responses tab. Not only do you get some great information here just as an overview, you'll get a summary of how your students did on this project. So you get a couple of different graphs, The feedback may not be as important here, but you definitely can just get a good overview like, wow, my students overall did really good on following directions and behavior, but maybe we need to work a little bit more on creativity and effort, right? So you can just look at that overall data, but the real gold here is looking at the Google sheet that was created with their form. So I've already got that sheet open here, and I want to show you what that looks like. So in the sheet, we have all the columns that correspond to the questions that you had in the form itself. And one of the things you can do here is you can actually get a total of the scores and use these totals to enter into the gradebook. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to click inside this first cell under total, and I'm going to use the sum function. And I'm going to decide which columns do I want to add up to get the total. So I know that my first score starts in C and row 2, and my last score is in F row 2. So I'm going to enter that as C2 colon F2, and I'm going to push enter, and that's going to automatically total the points that the student got. And now if I want to recreate that for all of them, I can click back in this cell and drag this little blue box that's in the corner down to all of them, and it brings that operation or that function into each row in that same column, and voila, it automatically totaled them. And then you can take that score, enter it into your online gradebook or your paper gradebook as you need to, and your grading is done. A note here, you may need to sort this column by name if you are entering it just one by one, because you want to make sure you're giving the right student the right grade. But this is at least a quick way to get an overall score, and then you can go through here and choose how you want to sort those responses. We do have a video we provided for you that goes into detail about how to sort a form, so you might want to check that out. So now that we've seen how you can create a rubric and use it to grade work, I hope that you will take advantage of this and create rubrics and use them for different projects and make your grading go so much smoother.